Good morning. I'll be giving a speech on the debt cycle and how it affects our children. The United States of America has the most external debt in the world of any other country. And this is based on the Central Intelligence Agency's World Fact Book. Americans are just, the leadership of the Americans are just spending and spending and spending. And there's no education coming from, our leadership saying this is how we should be spending money, this is how it's inappropriate, this is how it's appropriate. And these households are just spending and spending and spending and building up debt. And unfortunately, their children are doing the same thing that their parents are doing, and they're not getting any education to assist them with, those type of educational needs. We need to take further measures in educating our children in regards to financial. These are the future leaders of America, and we need to recognize that and educate them financially so they can make financially sound decisions so their children and their children do the same thing. We can get out of this debt cycle that keeps going around and around. I do apologize about leaning forward here. We had some technical difficulties with the printer, so I couldn't print out my speech here. The problem specifically in the U.S. education system is common misconceptions about finances. A lot of people feel that it's okay to be in debt. It's just part of life. You got to be in debt to get places, and that's really not true. And everyone listening prior to this has some sort of debt. Many of us, like myself, due to personal circumstances, has a lot of substantial amounts of debt. There are many false statements that you need debt to build your credit, and that's not true. Credit judges the credit that you have. So if you don't have any credit to judge, then you can't have a bad score. You can't have a high score, but banks aren't going to discredit you completely on not having a credit history. But it's still good to get a savings account and checking account out. There is a lack of education in schools. There are not enough schools that start teaching financial terminology or even the basics at a late elementary or early middle school age. The only financial classes you tend to see nowadays are towards the end of high school, and these are electives. These aren't required courses to graduate. And this is based on a Fox News article that I found off the internet. Many educators say that education starts at home, and this may be true in regards to teaching your kids to read, teaching them basic mathematics and counting and the alphabet before they start going to preschool or kindergarten. I do agree with this statement, but it's not the same when it comes to finances, because a lot of these parents don't have the financial education themselves to start that education at home. So this is why we need to start going with it in the education system, to start teaching children now so they can teach their kids, and the education can start at home and only be reinforced at school. There's a lot of restrictions in regards to testing that states are required to do in order to get accreditation and funding. And Virginia specifically, these are called SOLs. And many of you that went to Virginia high schools and middle schools, you probably got to experience these SOLs, and teachers had to teach by these guidelines. I feel teachers are really held back by this. I mean, not many can really teach outside of the box or outside of what this SOL guideline says, because all their students have to pass the SOLs. Because if they don't, then of course the administration of that school is not going to be happy at that teacher, and it reflects poorly on the teacher, regardless of how much that teacher might have taught that student in other ways. A lot of teachers do have this desire to reach out, but again, they're held back by those SOLs, and they do not have the ability to teach outside those SOL guidelines. In the United States currently, what I've found is that only 7 of 50 states require students to complete some form of personal finance course. That is only 7 of 50. There's a solution to this, but it's requiring more educators and leaders to step up to the growing challenge. Simply put, there is no easy solution or quick fix to this problem. This problem plagues many generations, and it's going to take quite a few generations to start reversing this, but it's got to start now. I feel that you can incorporate small pieces of financial education at all ages, such as if you've got a young 5-year-old and you have allowance with the child. You can start the basics of, hey, when you do your chores and you do them well, you get paid well for it. And then make sure they know, let them buy things from time to time. Let them go to the dollar store and buy a toy or two. They're starting to get the understanding of making money and spending money. And as they get a little bit older, you're going to be able to do a few other things with them that are going to help them understand about saving money or borrowing money. In kindergarten, we do start to learn what coins and the value of them. The children, from that point we learn about money, but then the children move right to multiplication, long division, geometry, even algebra in some schools at a very young age. But finance kind of takes a back seat at that point. We need to also, with middle school, we need to continue that in middle school. Just like with any newly practiced skill, you must continue to learn and expand on that knowledge. Or it's lost. It's just how it is. Military had a lot of these. And we would do every week, we call sergeant's time training, and we would re-emphasize what we learned the week prior. You know, children learn the basics of money, but then it drops off right at middle school, and they continue on with their schooling. At a middle school level, many students receive allowances and even greater allowances. So from the little getting a quarter for making the bed, we're going up to middle school age kids that are kind of learning their world and understanding how things work. They're getting larger allowances and larger abilities to spend this money. The curriculum in many middle school math classes can incorporate interest rates and help children understand compound interest. I mean, I remember going through percentages and timesing by decimal points. You know, these are all things of what interest is. And if that can be tied in with the terminology, they understand, oh, that's what interest is. That's how I calculate that. Even at a young age, it might not stick, but if you build on this, that's where it's going to solidify the knowledge, at least some basic financial knowledge. Another option is even kids at middle school level. Many banks offer children's savings accounts, and the parents are co-signers on it, so they can make their allowance at this point, and you can put it in the bank, and that'll allow children to save that money. And you may think that financial education can't be taught in all courses, but with English class, you could teach terminology such as loans, interest, what annual percentage rate means, what annual percentage yield means, what appreciation means outside of the actual term they understand it as. You know, teaching financial terms. Math, there are so many ways you can teach finances or incorporate it into the class as part of your SOL guidelines teaching, or just your general curriculum or your coursework. History teachers can also teach the history of finance because we learn from history not to repeat it. So we need to go back and learn some financial history and see what we're doing wrong so we don't repeat that. We're not learning that. Even science, many of you may or may not believe, has that ability. You can teach them about grants and how those programs are funded by government grants and how they work. There are many other resources out there on how to incorporate finance into standard K-12 topics. You know, you just have to look for them. They're very far and few, but there are plenty out there. There's even full programs that you can purchase for your school, and they have different educational levels for your K through 5, 6 through 9, or even 9 through 12. Sorry, 6 through 8. On top of that, there are many resources popping up that can be used specifically in financial education class. Banks, in some cases, banks can go into classes, or mortgage gentlemen, guys that handle mortgages. They can go in and start talking to students about what a mortgage is and how it works, and how they can start preparing once they're out of high school to prepare to own a house, which is one of the best investments you can make. Even though you end up paying a lot more in it, the house will constantly appreciate because real estate is one asset that is not replenishing beyond oil. Specifically in conclusion, the debt cycle is not going to disappear. We really need to act now. It is our responsibility as parents, teachers, professors, and government leaders to tackle financial illiteracy in our public schools. It's not the next person's job, or maybe that person's job next door. It's our job. We're responsible for giving our children and students the tools to be successful in life, and this is one of the most critical tools they need. It's time we add one of these most important tools, such as finance, our future leaders need, to their financial education.